Alright, how's it going everyone? So today we're going to be practicing some more poses and we're going to be drawing some kind of from imagination as well as opposed to just straight up drawing from reference. This video is also sponsored by HUION. They sent me their Kamvas Pro 24 3rd generation tablet, so we'll be unboxing that and then using that throughout the video. So here we have the Kamvas Pro 24 3rd generation. It's their 4K 24-inch tablet, and this is also their most recent 24-inch model. It's got 16K pressure sensitivity levels with 185 ppi, and then it also has a touchscreen. This is the first tablet I've ever used that had a touchscreen. I was really surprised by that, and I definitely made good use of that. Then here we have the quick start guide, and as you can see, the box actually doesn't contain that much stuff, which is always a plus, or that many cables, which is always a plus. So we have a power cord. All of these cables are really long, by the way. They're about 4 feet or a meter 20. But yeah, we have the power cord. There's a USB-C to USB-C cable. Then here we have an A to C cable. And then lastly, we have an HDMI to HDMI cable. It unfortunately doesn't come with an HDMI to DisplayPort cable, so if that's the setup you're running, you'll have to get the cable separately. But then we also get this key dial remote, which comes with a USB A to C cable, which you can use to run this thing wired, as opposed to having to run it with Bluetooth, which it is able to do as well, but you can run it wired as well. And then I was really surprised by this. It comes with a colorimeter, which it says it's a limited time gift, so I'm assuming at some point they'll stop giving these out. But all of the tablets I've had, they never came with one of those, so actually getting one of those is really cool. Then for the pens, we have the slim pen, eraser in the back, and then 2 buttons in the front, and then we of course have the normal digital pen with eraser in the back, and then 3 buttons in the front. Both of these have 60 degrees of tilt support, and then 2 grams of activation force, meaning you can draw really lightly with them if you want. Now the tablet itself is actually a lot smaller than what I'm used to with these 24-inch tablets. The screen is still 24 inches, but the edges of the tablet itself are smaller than what I've seen on some other 24-inch tablets. It's about 68 centimeters across, as opposed to the other 24-inch tablets I've reviewed, which are all around 75 centimeters across. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with an adjustable stand included. It only has those wings on the back, which go up to around 20 degrees, and they are very stable. But if you enjoy drawing with your tablet at a much steeper angle, you'll definitely have to buy that stand. That's it for the unboxing, so let's get to drawing. So what I wanted to do for this pose practice is I would draw one pose just normally from reference, and then take this exact same pose and then try to draw it from a different angle without using reference. So at that point, just I guess kind of just drawing it from imagination. And this would be kind of a simple one to do, I figured. So I guess we'll start with this. Looking back on it, the main thing that I can see that I didn't see at the time is that the curve in her back is not at the waist, but instead it's slightly more in her upper back, because her waist is pretty straight. There is still a bend there as it goes from the waist to the upper back, but it's not as exaggerated as what I did. I should have placed the curve a lot higher. And later on, when I'm doing the drawing from the other angle, you can see that exact same issue. I placed the curve a bit too low. So that's one thing I'll have to keep in mind. You can also see in the reference image that from the bottom of her ribcage all the way down to the aces points of the pelvis, it's essentially just a straight line, or well, I guess it's a diagonal line. Whereas in my drawing, you can see that that's curved. And the reason why it's curved is, of course, because I placed the curve in the back way too low, right at the waist, instead of having it be in the upper back. I kind of want to draw this pose again now, having noticed that, and actually seeing how much of a difference that's going to make. I might actually end up putting it in the video, because after recording this voiceover, I might just immediately end up making that drawing, and then I guess we can compare the end results and see how different it is. I did make an artwork that you've probably seen in the thumbnail. But I did make that artwork using this sketch. So I don't know if I'll make an artwork using the new drawing, but I guess that's the finished first drawing. So now we're going to take this pose and try to draw it from more of a high angle. I think at some point I'm also going to have to do some more low angles, because I'm pretty comfortable doing these high angles, but the low angles are still a bit too difficult. I can notice that too when I'm just drawing boxes randomly, because recently, instead of doing the like whenever I'm doing my daily line work stuff, instead of just drawing lines now, I've resorted to drawing boxes and cylinders. And I've noticed when doing that, I tend to draw boxes as seen from above, so doing a lot of high angles, because that feels a lot more natural. But then whenever I have to draw a box from a low angle, I actually have to think about it. So I think I'll do a lot more practice doing stuff from low angles, and that would probably I'd probably benefit a lot from that. Let me know if you guys have that same issue with being more comfortable drawing stuff from high angles as opposed to doing stuff from low angles. I know everybody struggles with drawing heads from low angles because you have to draw the bottom of the jaw, but I'm curious if it's the same with bodies. Do you think it's easier to draw stuff from high angles as opposed to low angles? Then right here you can also very clearly see that issue with the curve in the back being way too low. The curve is right in the spine as opposed to being in the upper back. And I also angled that ribcage box a bit too much forwards, because I think if you were to measure the angles, like if you drew a vertical line and you use that to measure how much that ribcage box is tilted, it'd be tilted way more than what it is in the reference, and it'd be tilted more than what it is in the other drawing I'd made. So yeah, I definitely need to redo that one and see how it ends up. Then for this pose, I decided to do more of a perspective practice. So instead of using the looser forms that I did for the previous pose, for this one I decided to use boxes. And maybe that wasn't the smartest idea, because I did have a bit of a problem with figuring out how her torso is angled, because you can see that her ribcage is, it's kind of angled backwards going into the depth, and then her pelvis is tilted, well, it's not tilted, it's parallel to the floor, but it's pointing in a different direction than where the front plane of her ribcage is pointing. And then you can also see that her upper torso, or I guess the upper half of her torso, is kind of leaning back. It's leaning on her right arm. Whereas in my drawing, I can now see that it's not angled like that. So this is another one that I think I'm gonna redo just to capture that tilt, because I think that's the only really big thing that I didn't see at the time. I think that's also just one issue you'll run into when using boxes, because the upper torso, normally you can represent it using just a single box, but if the torso is leaning backwards or twisting in some way, it becomes a lot harder to use a single box, because technically you'd have to twist your box as well to make sure that everything will line up properly. But I think what I could have done is maybe added a little twist to the box and still had it leaning backwards, and then it probably would have worked. But yeah, I'll redo this, probably put the drawing on screen so you can actually see what I'm talking about. I also tried to do these kind of as fast as possible. For one, so I could fit more drawings into the video. And like usually the drawing from imagination stuff takes a bit longer than drawing from reference, so I kind of wanted to have enough time to fit those into the video. But I also wanted to see how fast I could actually draw these, and I think I could still go a bit faster. This isn't... I'm not quite satisfied with how fast this went, or I guess how slow it went. But what's unfortunate about drawing speed in particular is that it's a very line control based skill. You just need to have really good line control to be able to draw faster. And I have been practicing my line control quite a bit recently, so my lines are a lot better than they used to be about 2 months ago. But I still need to practice it way more to actually be able to draw quicker. It's so annoying because I can actually see progress being made with the line control stuff, but it's still not at the level where I want it to be. Man, line control really is the most annoying skill, I think, because for one, it's the slowest one to improve. When it comes to something like perspective, you can improve at it pretty quickly. All you'd have to do is just actually study perspective for a couple days, and you'll probably get better at the thing that you were studying. But with line control, it's just so slow. You can practice drawing ellipses for multiple days and barely notice any progress. You can practice in multiple days for multiple hours and barely notice any progress. Of course, you are still making progress. And what's also really annoying about it is that it can also kind of hamper your progress with other kinds of practice. Like if you're trying to practice drawing backgrounds, for example, it requires a lot of straight lines, which you can draw with a ruler, but that is kind of slow, or using a ruler slows you down quite a bit. So ideally, you want to be able to draw those straight lines freehand, or you at least want them to be as straight as you can make them. But your line control is the bottleneck in that scenario. So somebody that has good line control will be able to draw more backgrounds in an hour than somebody that has bad line control, which will result in the person with better line control getting more practice than the person with bad line control. So that's basically the reason why I spent so much time talking about line control, because it's such a fundamental skill that affects everything else you do in drawing. It also affects the stuff that you do when it comes to painting, because with good line control you can draw straight lines, and then those straight lines will allow you to paint straight lines as well. But anyway, that does it for the pose studies. Hopefully you guys drew along with me. And then if you want to check out the HUION Kamvas 24, you can check out the link in the description. And then, of course, in the description, we also have our Discord server, which you can join if you want to get advice from other artists or if you want to ask me questions. And then I guess I will catch you all in the next video.